everybody. Welcome to Connect and Grow podcast. Today we have the amazing Amy Gray with us. Hey, Amy.
Hi, Jacqui. Hi,
How are you?
everybody.
Are you all good?
Yep, perfect.
Oh, good. So, guys, if you don't know Amy, you can find Amy on LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, and you will see the name NDIS Black Belt. So, Amy, Black Belt. I always think of karate or that something. I'm like, is she smashing out the NDIS? Is she breaking it apart? What is she doing? Tell us all about that name.
Well, NDIS Black Belt came from two sides of my personality. Number one, I'm a grappler, a no-gi submission grappler, have been for a very long time. My son is just about to turn 21, so he's been on the mat since he was 8,
Yep.
and now he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm a purple belt. The concept behind the black belt is gaining a black belt in jiu-jitsu specifically is like profoundly difficult. It requires extreme dedication and commitment and the ability to just we say time on the mat. So it's just basically going out and we just practice and fail and practice and fail until such a time, which is somewhere like 10 to 12 years total commitment to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu. It's a really, really big thing. And the other side of it came from the NDIS, and my entry into the NDIS sector is like deeply personal, like it is for so many of us, isn't it? For me, it was shaped by two sides of a coin. One was my experience as a parent and carer to my darling Ileana, who is nearly 19. She'll be 19 this Saturday, which is pretty exciting. She's got complex and profound disabilities, and there was something in that experience that really struck me about raising a person with significant disabilities within Australia. It hit me really hard and it got me thinking. And then professionally, I was lucky enough to sit in a role where I was sort of managing large teams and coordinating services for a significant volume of both staff and participants. We did coordination of support and plant management as well as direct services. And I really saw firsthand the challenges and the gaps within disability services, specifically in leadership issues. And it did come down to sort of knowledge issues about sector related issues. And I felt to myself, I just really wanted to give back and take away some of those solvable issues that I was seeing providers and their leadership struggling with. So look, I went out and I created this program to really sort of build leaders within this industry and give them the information based on the knowledge that I had. And ultimately, like, here's the thing, right? When we created NDIS Black Belt, it wasn't just about teaching regulation and compliance. There's plenty of people to do that, right? Those, I think, are actually the basics, right? And you must get them right. So you must really focus to get those right. The program that I created was about sort of going beyond that as a sector to innovate and advocate and inspire. And I think that really needed to come from a leadership perspective. So that was really the inspiration behind NDIS Black Belt, because I think we thought, let's create a program and we've mimicked the belts in jiu-jitsu. So we do white belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, and black belt, where we feel that by the time people within our program get to black belt, they've got the most amount of knowledge and the greatest skill set, we think, available within the industry.
Yeah.
And we sort of like, it was sad because, you know, I would see a lot of good leaders specifically really burnt out, I think, because they weren't equipped with the tools and support they needed in order to support their frontline staff. And it also kind of came from watching participants, as we all have seen them, slip through those cracks because leadership really wasn't strong enough to hold it together. I started to really investigate and you know, I think when we Google leadership programs, there's, you know, you're really hit with a real wave, aren't you, of sort of options. There's lots of workshops and webinars and sort of one size fits all frameworks. But, you know, the problem that we have within our industry is that these programs don't really necessarily speak to the unique challenges of the NDIS. You
No,
know, they
and
tend to, yep,
they're way behind, right? Like
yep,
it's
yep,
leadership at that corporate level. And
yes,
I know someone that was a CEO of a hospital. Well, I know a few past CEOs of big hospitals, and they've gone into like coaching roles, but they will not touch the NDIS. And
yes,
it's because they don't feel, even though some of the qualities are transferable, like they still don't feel they understand the actual NDIS enough to have that. And I remember being an assistant manager and then a manager of a support worker company. It was a medium sized registered company, and I had no support that
yes,
to help it. And we were navigating COVID at the same time. So
yes,
I was like, I've done leadership roles before, but what the was a lot of my
yes,
question, and I had to learn. But my biggest thing, like you just touched on, is not letting people, whether it's the people that are receiving the service or the people providing the services, not fall through the gaps. So I'd
yes.
love to hear a little bit more about that role of leadership for specifically for NDIS businesses. If you could talk to people a little bit more about that.
Well, look, what we found was that we could not, none of us, all of our directors, CEOs, all of our incredible agencies, organizations out there, I only work with great people. I are really lucky with the work that we do, but we sort of have to start having these conversations where we say, guys, we can't expect programs that have been developed, as you said, for corporate managers to prepare our leaders for the emotional weight of, say, helping a support worker navigate, as you say, burnout,
Mm,
or the responsibility of explaining funding shortfalls to a participant's family. We
mm,
can't expect them to just, magically get the emotional resilience required to handle complex participant needs. And, this right here is the tough stuff, right?
yeah.
Our leaders need to have the confidence to have tough conversations. They need to have the ability to inspire. They
Yep.
need to be nuanced in our industry, because our sector is really high stakes. It's a deeply human
Mm,
industry.
mm,
We
mm.
can't just create these programs that are about managing processes or improving productivity, or those things, they really matter. It
Mm.
has to touch on safeguarding the trust, of some of our most vulnerable people in our community, and being able to support the people who support them as well. And that doesn't just happen by magic.
No,
Um, we're NDIS Black Belt. Honestly, we are not just a leadership program. We're actually trying to start a bit of a movement
I love
to
that.
make it, you know, baseline that our
Yeah.
leaders within our industry, it's baseline now that it's expected that they get the type of support and
Mm.
training that they need in order to support workers and participants and families,
Yep.
and the tools they need to lead with purpose.
Yeah, I love that. Lead with purpose. I was just sitting there thinking, you need a T-shirt, but you can't actually use the NDIS because of the trademark, right? But maybe it's the black belt movement. Yeah, like, and then it creates that. What do you mean? Is that like I said at the start? Yeah, I
Yeah.
love this, and I love what you touched on with about the families as well. Like, so it's not just the team, like the good leaders in the business, whether it's a small business or a larger corporation, the culture of the business starts at the top, but we know sometimes it gets disconnected between the top and middle management. And then by the time it gets to the frontline workers, it's now so diluted that the message is all really crazy. And then it might go to the participant, but the family member doesn't understand it. And
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yep. I really coach right with one core truth,
yep,
that everything starts with culture. It
yep,
always starts with culture. And culture isn't something which unfortunately happens within this industry. You just must not leave it to chance. The same as accountability. We must train it in, because they're the invisible threads that tie every part of our organization together. We must start to think of it as this continuous never-ending cycle that fuels itself when it's built intentionally. Can I throw some mental pictures around now?
Yeah,
I'm not smart
100%.
enough to draw it on my screen.
No, let's
Um,
do that. Let's unpack that.
but
Yeah.
this is really the basic idea behind what I'm trying to do.
Yep.
So, everybody listening, build a circle in your mind that's
Mhm.
spinning, however you like, and whatever color circle you like as well. Now, it begins at, say, this end of the circle here,
Yep.
and this is the secret to success. We need well-rounded leadership. We
Mm.
need CEOs and executives who are not only grounded and intentional, but they truly understand the nuances of the industry. Because, we must sort of say, like, leadership like that doesn't happen by accident. It's rare and it requires cultivation and training and support, right? And so
Okay.
that's what we're trying to do.
Yep.
Because when we've got leadership here that's informed and confident and proactive, their knowledge and support naturally flows to this next section here, which is their teams.
Yep.
And when we've got supported and committed staff, we all know when our staff up here feel equipped and valued and prepared, they perform with this excellence and passion, and
Yep.
they feel empowered. And then it sort of trickles down to this part of the circle, which is our participants,
Yep.
our satisfied participants, satisfied families, because they are not silly. They can really sense quality and integrity in the care that comes into their homes. Yeah.
Yep.
And this is like the magic, because it's over here when our participants are happy, it flows back. That's our
Yep.
feedback and satisfaction loop that goes back into our teams. And
Mm.
our team members then become engaged and loyal and deeply connected to our work. And I think the key to sort of sustaining all that cycle is right in the middle, and that's our culture.
Yeah.
And that's
Love
the
it.
stuff that we can't just set and forget.
Mhm.
We must sort of actively maintain that, and that's what we're trying to do with NDIS Black Belt. We're trying to help intentionally build, actively maintain, and fiercely protect that culture within organizations.
Mhm.
I think it's one of the most important determinants of success, and it really comes from that spirit of curiosity, which is working with organizations who are willing to teach their leadership staff everything. Our
Yeah.
leadership staff must be the most skilled staff within the organization. And as I say, it's not always about compliance and regulation, because
No.
it's human services. It is about the customer.
And the thing is, and as you know, I've studied compliance and quality auditing, and that it's very, my autism loves that, but my ADHD is really bored with it. But because it's kind of, and the reason my ADHD is bored with it is it because once you set that foundation, it's not set and forget, but it should just keep only requiring a bit of a review as things change. But as you've just described with this amazing circle and then the 3 point touch points in that circle, which is leading back into the center, is that if you get that part right, or let me reframe, when you get that part right, your compliance actually moves into it quite nicely, and it's easier to be compliant
Mhm,
because you've got that person centered each touch point as well,
mhm,
not just the
mhm,
participant, but person
mhm,
centered for the staff.
mhm.
And where businesses are really detached from their person centeredness in each part of the business, that's where we have a lopsided circle. It's like a flat tire.
Yep. Look, I
Yeah.
agree with you. And I think the key to protecting our culture comes down to the concept of accountability. And again,
Mm,
that's something we see that's left to chance.
mm,
And not only is it left to chance, there are very unique accountability challenges within our sector. We've got
mm,
a few, because look, as you're saying, leadership can't just be about KPIs or compliance or maintaining a reputation. It needs to be about showing up where it matters the most.
mm,
And we can't expect our staff to do that when they just don't have a well rounded understanding of our customer base, number one, what their frontline staff are actually facing on a day-to-day level. This is the most important. We need to connect our leadership with our customer base, and sometimes it's not possible. So we need to give them the tools they need in order to do that, which is that's all I've tried to do. So I've
Yeah.
done case studies, storytelling, putting what works and what doesn't work, and just simply sitting in that place of entrepreneurship, which is a spirit of curiosity. Let's
Mm-hmm.
give our leadership everything, so nothing is a surprise.
I love
Um,
it.
yeah,
And the sole trader could actually take this approach too, because
I
even because
yes,
they are every part of those touch points that you
yes,
talk about. But it's also then a matter of sitting and going, okay, so which hat am I actually wearing, and then how am I actually doing it? Because, and that's where a little bit of what I do, which is that business personality assessment and the business health check, it helps to identify the difference between the business personality and the personalities of the people.
mhm.
And that's where, we shine a light on all of that, and then we'll just ship them over to you to fix the rest. But no, more to the point is it's that this isn't just for companies. So anyone that's listening, if you're a sole trader, this is actually relevant to your business as well.
Yeah. We just worked with a very, very small organization this week. And she really came to me with this, what I just think is the ticket to success, the golden ticket to success within any industry
Yeah,
is the spirit of curiosity.
yeah,
And she
love it.
said, Amy, I'm happy to sit in this place of a learner. I'll go through NDIS Black Belt 60 videos. I'll
Yeah,
go through all of them and I'll put anyone, it's only one off cost. I'll put anyone in my leadership to go through all of them. So
yeah,
we all have the most amount of information, a good solid foundation, and
yeah,
we can build from there.
yeah.
As I said, I've been lucky enough to spend time in the community, but I also have rostered a lot of hours in my own home for a long time.
Mm,
And I believe that staff with the most amount of information, they understand the nuances of the industry are always better staff.
yeah,
They're not tripping over X, Y, and Z. A lot of people think, oh, they only need so much information to be able to do their job, but that they're not going to be able to protect the integrity of accountability within your organization,
no,
protect the culture within your organization if they don't know the customer base, where they've come from, where they're
mm,
going, what the trajectory for the evolution of disability services is going to look like.
mm,
They need to know where the pitfalls are before they start on the journey. Instead, you're just reactive.
mm.
We want our staff to have that proactive approach so they understand the pathway as well as they can before we start them on it.
Yeah, 100%. I was just thinking, as you were speaking, that I saw on social media yet again. The what app can I use to get clients?
Yes.
And I really do not like the language of all of that. I do understand what they're asking, but I joked and I was sharing this with someone the other day, so you often hear it in my podcast as well, is that the person that requires the service is not an item in Bunnings or Spotlight. Like, they are people. And the biggest part in the business is that we are not right for everybody. So I'm not right for everybody. Nobody's right for everybody. But if we identify that when we're maybe looking at taking on a participant or a client or something like that, and we think, is this person right for me? Am I right for them? Because you're better off to say no. And that is part of this culture and your own leadership in your own business of not taking the people that are not right for you, because you're just going to do everybody a disservice.
I agree with you. As I said, my daughter and myself as her representative would be one of the most sought after participants. We roster equivalent to 2.5 full-time positions a week. We
Yeah,
also have exercise physiology. We've got like a lot of stuff going on.
yeah,
So I'm often the client that they think that they want. I
mm,
take tremendous grievance in any provider using this terminology, but any business consultant offering to
mm,
be able to provide that service, I take tremendous grievance with that, because I know one thing. The only way to get participants in the community is word of
Yep.
mouth.
Yep.
We don't care. I'm on LinkedIn. I've got like a lot of digital media stuff put out for myself. Yeah. I
Mm,
don't care what a website says. I
mm,
don't care how many happy snaps you've got with a
mm.
participant on
Yep.
LinkedIn. In fact, if you've got that on there, I don't think I don't like that
Yep.
at all. And I made a video with my alter ego, Tracy Lynn Beverly, yesterday
Right.
about using participants as props. Do you know
Yep.
what? And Tracy Lynn said, why don't we start using your staff? Let's interview them in the car
Yeah.
park and see how they are.
Yeah,
um,
exactly. I love that.
it's word of mouth. So if your staff go around and do a really good job in the community, I can guarantee you,
Mm.
you will be the most popular provider in town.
Yep. We
Because
we recently in Connect and Grow magazine decided to do, because we have some businesses listed in there, and we decided to do video ads for the businesses that wanted that. Costs a little bit more because of the time. And every time I do one for a business, they send me photos, and one just really insisted on all these client pictures, and I went, have you got any of like the staff or something like that? Or they only could present me with stock stuff. And I went, you know what, it's your business. We'll go with it. But I really
Mhm,
don't think it's going to land as much as others. Others, like one of them, there was the pool and all of that. And that actually got that business a client because that's what the person was looking for. But the
mm,
one thing I ask them is, what is your key message about your business? Like, I just want to know that so I can, when I do the speak over of the images, I can actually say Break Free Consultancy is all about empowering and connecting. So your business consult, like whatever my tagline is and what it means, but what it means and how it connects. We're getting more people responding to the video ads than we are the actual ad that just says Break Free Consultancy, blah, blah, blah.
mhm.
And when we ran the, we've been running the magazine now. We're up to issue 18 or 19 now, and people would look at the thing and they'd say, "Are people going to my website?" And I go, "I don't know, but even when I do go to your website or your Facebook page, I'm not finding anything that attracts me to your service. I want to know about the essence of the business, the heart of the
Yep.
business."
Do you know the interesting thing, Jacqui, is that I've gone to like a billion networking events
Yep.
over the years, um, and I've shaken a lot of hands. I've met a lot of people, and I'm really transparent about what it is I do, but
Yep.
also what my why is. So I don't talk about my daughter in a personal way, but I say there's gaps that I'm trying to fill, and this has been my experience. And do you know what? Providers really never ask me. Um, what I would like. But if a provider was to say, heaven forbid, right, they ask a customer what they would want. Amy, what would attract you to my service? I would say, do you know what? A video of you as the director
Yeah.
telling me what you do to support your staff. What
Yep.
kind of like training have you put in place?
Yep.
How different training is that to the stock standard stuff that you just get for free on the internet?
Yep.
Like what type of training in regards to some of the most important issues, which is like accountability, because our
Yep.
support workers work unsupervised. They carry this enormous weight of autonomy. Tell me about that.
Yeah, and how do
Um,
you support them on
yeah,
their bad day? Because they're
yeah,
gonna have it. Like, are
yeah,
you gonna listen to them?
yeah. If there was a course equivalent to mine,
Yep.
and someone got on LinkedIn and said, I put my staff through a course like this, I'd
Yep.
put my hand up and say, carry my 100 direct service hours a week. And
Yep.
I'm going to tell everybody else
Yep.
that I know with vulnerable participants to perhaps look into your service, because it's that type of stuff that makes the difference. And they're not realizing that yet. the industry needs to become a little more customer centric and a
Yep.
little more focused on what actually makes them tip. And I know that customer base is so vast and varied, but your service should not be, unless you've got 100 staff, your service should probably do what it does best.
Yep.
So if it's personal care, then you work out what those customers are after. And often, that's your complex and profound. What does that customer cohort want to see from a service? And it is not a picture of you with a participant at a coffee shop.
Yeah, I know.
It would be,
I watched this, and I probably should tag you in it. I watched this video of this participant. Don't get me wrong, I think this is great for this person, like the actual person, but there was elements of the video that I actually didn't like as well. Anyway, so the person's in a wheelchair, profound disabilities, and she's done skydiving, which is great. She did it with the right people. But the other ones was her support workers on roller skates pushing her along, which is great. But to me, I guess I went to all the risk stuff. Now, the other
yeah,
part that I didn't like, right? This is the part I really felt was not quite right, is as they're going past the camera, they're putting their finger up,
yeah,
right? And I'm like, okay, I get it that it's all about fun, but there was also a lot of danger risks to this person as
yes,
well.
yeah.
And all I could think of was, I hope they actually did, because there's fun and then there's danger. And so one of the things was that, what, like, seeing a video of the participant having fun is important. And I loved the skydiving one more than anything else, to be honest. But the support workers are there for a variety of reasons. And it's actually more about, if that's your business, then what else are you doing? Or are you just out there to have fun? Because that actually also sends the wrong message, because it's not always going to be fun. It's not always going to be roller skating and teas and coffees, and that's a small portion of it. So what is your business doing that helps make that holistic approach to the person and their family that where required?
I agree. Had I seen that, there is absolutely no way I would go near that agency. Number
Yeah.
one, because I think we all have a responsibility, because Australia is a little peeved at the NDIS. We've got a responsibility to show that we are actually responsible. And I think profanities on camera is
Mm.
not doing our industry justice. So we must protect that, number one. And number two, people in the community as well are watching our workers. And this
Yep.
again, I say to organizations who say, oh, yeah, we're fine, we don't need help and support. I sort of say to organizations, you do realize it's your frontline staff who actually are the branding for your business. So
Yep.
you can have the best t-shirts and the best marketing in the world, but it's the frontline staff member and their professionalism in at Woolworths. That's
Mm.
the branding for your business. So I think we've got a responsibility here. I think
Mm.
we've got a responsibility. And I know our retention rates within the industry, especially our frontline stuff, are really, really high. But when we've got active leadership,
Mm.
leadership comes with so many challenges, and it's also easy to underestimate how much influence we have. But staff notice the cues that their leadership gives, the
Yeah.
decisions they make, and the actions that they take, and it
100%.
often shapes their approach. So if our leadership understands the weight of their responsibility as a community, as a sector, then
Yeah.
our staff will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I ran I eventually became manager of this support worker company, and there was a lot of stuff going on, and I got to breaking point with it. Just with I'm not going to go into the intricate details, but I just got to breaking point when I sent through my resignation, and then I was given consent to let the rest of the team and the participants know. Do you know, Amy, that all the team went private message me and went, can we all put in our resignation too? Thanks. They didn't want to stay. The participants are going, where are you going, Jacqui? Can we go with you? And some of them actually replied to that email, which I kind of had to politely write back and go, I'm actually just taking some time for me. So, we're mindful of the company guidelines. But that just went to show, I'm not saying I was this amazing leader. I was learning a lot as I was going. But the thing is that when the team is working to the best possibility it can, and we know there's always going to be hiccups in this industry, we're just going to think we got it right and then we
Yeah.
don't. But
Yeah.
everything that you're saying, it comes back to that, because then that team will follow that leader. Not that we
Yes.
want companies to fall apart,
Yes.
but if you look after your team leaders, you look after your managers, you're going
Yes.
to then look after your frontline staff, because they're going to have respect. And then the message, as you said, and I love that your frontline workers, your support workers, are you can have the shiniest of websites and
Yes.
cars and all of that and the
Yes.
best business cards ever. But if your frontline staff are sitting there on their phone out in the community and the poor person is struggling to cut, or
Yes.
I've seen this multiple times where they get the shakes, they're trying to drink their coffee, and
Yes.
they're just being ignored.
Yes. Yes. Yep. And communities are small. So
Yeah,
even if Sarah, the support worker who's not actively engaged in her service, right? So she's disengaged. She might not be wearing a t-shirt that says all care services. So,
yeah,
but the community is small. They know where Sarah works.
yeah,
And then they know if Sarah goes from this agency to that agency, they know the culture within the agency where the staff are, because it comes out in the staffing.
yeah,
I'm very much, at the end of the day, it comes down to building a culture of integrity, and accountability. And again, we can't leave it to chance.
no,
And that's when we started looking around, going, well, what is available? There's nothing. So we thought, okay, well, we'll fill the gap, because I actually care for the betterment long term for the industry,
yeah,
and whatever I can bring, I certainly will, because this is my daughter's industry.
yeah.
She's going to
This is
be.
your daughter's future.
She's not going to get better. She's not going to be rehabilitated and suddenly not need significant support like 24 hours a day. She's always going to need support. So I'll do what I can and fill the gaps in the way that I uniquely can.
Yeah,
Um, I think, we've got to set really good expectations around accountability. We need to kind of like put things in place, put frameworks in place. That's what we bring in our
yeah,
leadership program. We bring those type of frameworks around, um, open dialogue, safe reporting, feedback loops, failure forums, recognizing ethical dilemmas, decision making, upskilling. I believe that is the protective layer at
yeah.
the end of the day. And as you say before, this is what protects our compliance, and compliance to compliance at the end of the
Mhm.
day. It's
Yep.
how well trained our staff are. And you're right, that level of training it's not available.
Nope.
That's why we built it, but it hasn't typically been available. So providers have been struggling, and I don't want to see them contract. We want to see them expand.
Expand. Yeah, 100%. And I was just speaking with someone about this the other day, is that there's so many things that they're under pressure for. But the one thing with the NDIS, and being the industry that it is, it's like somebody where we've got an idea, let's just put it out there. I've been part of it since the trials in Victoria and my aged care at the same time. And I've seen the changes and I've seen all different aspects to it. But one of the things is, if you went and said, okay, I've decided I'm going to open up a hospital, and you wanted some government funding towards that, the government will basically give you probably a million folders and go, read this and follow this step by step, because this is everything you've got to do, right? And then the culture comes in from there, but it comes in from that thing. And there's parameters and there's guidelines. The NDIS, to setting up an NDIS business, there are no clear guidelines. It's everybody's interpretation. And then there's unregistered versus registered, who don't think that they match. And my biggest thing is where the sole traders go, I'm not a business, Jacqui, I'm a sole trader. And I joke about that. I go, yeah, right. And I'm ready to stop going on at them about setting up their business properly and coming from, and I've seen support workers go, I want to grow my business, and their photos of what they're doing, I would not hire them because they're already telling me who they are as a person. But
Yes.
they could be right for someone else, but I also worry about what they're doing, what they're saying, and all of that. And we're working with people who are not silly people. They're abilities, so they've got
Yep.
something going on that they need some support, and it's all varied and it's all different levels. But if you have a one size fits all approach, you're not then there for the person.
Yeah, I agree. It's really a shame the way it was rolled out. And I too was part of the pilot program, and I was lucky enough to work in it for years in the community. And I guess because of my why,
Yep,
the holes were really evident. And I
yep,
felt really driven to do what I could to patch the holes, because I think if we know a problem exists, and we choose to do nothing about it, then
mm-hmm.
we are part of that disease.
Yep,
So that's really what drove me at the end of the day. And that's what I think in essence NDIS Black Belt is all about. Um, is trying to establish for providers and their leadership stuff, like, what is this industry and who is the customer base, and what do I need to do in order to have a shot, because we're going
yep,
from mum and dad operations over the last 5 years popping up everywhere because of essential services. This market is competitive now, and it's going to
yep,
become more and more competitive, because of we're looking at funding cuts. So when you
mm,
kind of look at who's going to perhaps survive those funding cuts, it will most likely be our complex and profound community. And they're the
yep,
community that require the most amount of information. Your staff need the biggest, greatest, impactful skill sets in order to compete in that market.
yep. I
Um,
100% agree
yeah,
there.
yeah.
We're
Um,
already
and
seeing,
and and so we're just sort of sitting here going, I'm here to support anybody who wants to be part of what I say is the evolution of disability services. We
mhm,
need to we need to evolve. You need to evolve, guys. The market's changing. You're either going to do it voluntarily or you're going to do it under pressure. And I'd say like be entrepreneurial and
mm,
take the leap before you get pressured to either shut down or take the leap at a when you're forced. It's always easier when you do it or
through choice.
through choice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%, 100%. So I love all of this, Amy, and thank you for sharing all of this. So if there would be one message that you would give out to the providers in the disability sector, what would that one message be? You've probably already said it, but we'll just leave them with that one message.
My one message is like three really small parts, right?
Yep,
We want to, I think success is reserved for those who are willing to commit to learning from the best. We want
yep,
to get the right information, and it doesn't always come from the loudest voices or the ones sort of selling the shortcuts. It comes from the most potent, battle tested sources.
yep,
Okay, you need high quality distilled knowledge. Number one. Number two is we need to commit. This is the black belt part of it. We need to commit to relentless execution. So
mm,
information is useless without execution. And
yep,
and there's a lot of providers sort of starting to gather information, but they're not sure what to do with it yet. So watch this
yep,
space. And
yep,
the third part is to commit to the long game.
yeah,
It's delayed gratification at the end of the day, the willingness to adapt and fail and keep going, even when nothing seems to be working or we're having
mm,
to pay into developing our leadership. It's a big thing to take on, but that's actually where the magic happens. That's it,
yeah.
just 3 steps.
Love it. And they're powerful steps.
Yeah, I think it just, and you can use that in any part of your life. It that just come that comes from jujitsu, right
Yes.
there. Time on the mats,
Yep.
commitment, and then the commitment to the long game as well. So
Yeah.
training under the right people for the right amount of time and
Mhm.
keep turning up.
Yeah. And always come back to, as you said, that curiosity and your why. Why,
Yes.
what is the purpose of this? I always say to people, why do you want to have a business?
Yes.
And the answer to that gives away a lot of information. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, Jacqui. I agree with you. And I think there's room for all of us. So not everybody can have a really powerful why. And I do understand there's people within this industry who are business focused. And there is a place for them as well, as long as they support their leadership staff with the adequate training and knowledge that they need. There's a place for everybody at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
100%. 100%. And it takes all kinds.
I think it really does. And there should be all kinds, because
Mm.
in a human services industry, there's all kinds of people we're servicing as well. So there's room for everybody.
Yay. Oh, Amy, it's been great having you here. Guys, if you found this podcast useful, remember to like, share, follow, subscribe, all those amazing things. You'll see it Spotify, YouTube. You can find Amy on Facebook, LinkedIn, and even TikTok. So follow her on one or all of them, connect with her, and don't be afraid to just reach out and ask questions, because if you don't ask, the answer is always already no. But if you
Yes.
do ask, it may still be no, but it could be a no with a twist, or it could
Yep.
be a yes. So
Yep.
always reach out and ask the question and be open to connecting. So, guys, once again, Amy, thanks for being here. It's been
Thanks so
amazing.
much. Hugely appreciated.